So the title of today's session is Interacting with Content, Insert Learning, and Edpuzzle. And we would like to welcome Verity Olliff as your presenter for today.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to meet all of you. I'm going to share my screen. That way you are able to see what we are going to be looking at today. I am a high school teacher in Oxnard, California. I live in Los Angeles. And so I have quite a commute. So this online learning has been actually a good thing. So if we look at the screen, I shared it in the chat. Hopefully you're able to see. We're going to be focusing on two things. As a high school teacher, a lot of times I want to give my students content, but I want to make sure that they always have ways to respond to it, to interact with it, and not just be consumers. And so the two I'm going to focus on today is Insert Learning and Edpuzzle. Both of them have free sites. Both of them have paid subscriptions also, depending on what your district has, what you want to do as a teacher. For Insert Learning, I use the free one. For Edpuzzle, our district, I'm in Oxnard Union High School District, like I said, actually focuses, and we use Edpuzzle, the paid version. But I'm going to show you on each of them what are the free parts, what are the paid parts, so that way you don't feel like you have to buy this. You'll have plenty of content otherwise. This is a little bit about me. Like I said, I live in Los Angeles. I'm a high school English teacher. I'm also the site and one of the district ed tech coaches. So starting in March, my job became helping teachers. So I decided to go for my Google certified trainer. I was able to get that in May, so I was very excited about that. This summer, I've been focusing on things I enjoy, which is reading, social justice kind of issues, and then baking. And then I decided that if I'm going to do a lot of baking and eating, I should probably do more exercise. So a good friend of mine in the Central Valley is doing basically quarantine runs. So we do virtual 5Ks all the time. And so with this, I have the different things that I'm interested in. You can see at the bottom on this slide, you'll also notice that I have my Twitter and my email. So those are great ways to reach out to me if you have questions. I would love to help you if I say something or I go too fast. This is being recorded, but in case you just need to ask a question or something's not working, please reach out to me. So as I said, we're going to go through what each of the programs are and then how to use them, the different aspects of it. So you're going to be the student and then also the teacher for both of these. It's a limited time, so we are going to go quickly. That's why if you do have questions, please reach out to me. So if you click on the Insert Learning links, anytime you see this logo, it'll directly take you there. I tried to make it as easy as possible. Just so you know, Insert Learning is a website and also a Google Chrome extension. And it allows an educator to take material that is either found on the internet or that you yourself have created, and it's residing in your Google Drive or as any sort of website that has a link. And so with this, you're able to actually embed instructional content. You can embed questions, you can embed discussions, all sorts of things you're able to embed into it. So it's not just a static website. So we're actually going to try it out. So if you would like, if you have the slideshow, please go to Insert Learning. And when you click on this, you will be able to actually go to the website itself. And when you go to the website, you will be able to, oh, come on, there we go. When you go to the website, you will see this screen. It'll have you log in. You log in with your Google. It works just fine. And then you're going to go to where it says new class, and then you're going to enroll in a class. So let me put that back up so that you are able to see the actual code. It is here on the screen. It is 6V4QR2. So 6V4 QR2. And by enrolling in this course, you are having insert learning on your computer, but you also have access to the document that I have provided for you. So in this document, what I have given you is the ability to actually, trying to show it to you. It's causing me some challenges right here. You are able to, once you go here, you are able to see the document that I have given you. Let's see if I go to lesson, there we go. And it should be 6 strategies for distance learning. And you'll notice on this article that there is a question just based on the title. So I was able to insert a question. So oftentimes I'll give it to my students, have them read the title and try to figure out basically what they're looking for. As a teacher, I can then view all responses and I can see who has been signed in. I can see if they've provided an answer. I can also proceed to give them a score. In my class, I work on a rubric system, so that's why I always have it as 3. It's not really points, but that is how the system works. Farther down, you'll notice I've highlighted and I included kind of an annotation. The cool thing is, as a teacher, I can also include a video. So I could give verbal instructions, or if I have students that are reliant on interpretation, I could have an interpreter give my instructions. There's various things you can do to make it accessible, but also make it so that it is more personal, especially in distance learning. So I can highlight something, provide an annotation just to get rhetorical questions for students to think about. If they wanted to, they could add on to this and add their own thoughts, but this is mainly just to get students to start thinking on where I'm going with this. What is the reason for this article? And then I can let students just read, be comfortable with reading. And at the very end, you'll notice I included a discussion post. And so students could actually add in and start creating a discussion thread. So it has various features that you are able to do as a student. You can respond to these. Again, I am able to look and see the classes. I can then proceed to see what is the response and then post. And then as a teacher, I'm able to see all of this. So it is a fairly simple way of making sure that students are not just looking at a website, but they're actually interacting with it. They're able to see what is ways to really read depending on their level. You might be teaching them how to read more critically, how to really stop and pause and reflect on their reading. I have students that are in a college prep course, honors course, some students that are as English learners. And so depending on my student, a lot of times I need to pause to really give them that ability to reflect on what they've read, think about it. If it's a very rigorous reading that has a lot of intricacies, I a lot of times will add a box that causes them to reflect, because I know my students just read through really quickly and they don't always get the nuances of the article. And so this helps to really do that. I'm able to slow them down, they answer the questions, they think about it. And so it's a nice way for students to be able to work on this, but also as a teacher that I can see really what they need, where they're going with it. Now, if I want to show you, now that you've kind of worked through it, I saw some of you were on, you're able to see as a student how it works. But the most important part is as a teacher, what do you do? How do you set it up? What does it require? So I'm going to go through the dashboard and then some tips and tricks for insert learning. So the dashboard itself, as you saw, has the first section when you sign in as a teacher is you have the lessons. You're able to make a new lesson. You can actually put them as new folders. A caveat to that is if you're using the free one like I do, you're only allowed to have five lessons stored at any one time. So oftentimes I keep this one because I use it every single year. So I've limited myself to 4 lessons, but that's really all I need. I have one at a time. Articles change all the time. I really don't want it to be static. This one here is from Google Arts and Culture, and it's about basically selfies of the Greek era, which is our statues that we know. And so I use it when I study Antigone. So it really helps the students. They enjoy reading this article. But the other articles, I want them to change. So I don't have a problem using the free version. Some teachers want to make sure that they have the set standards or their set articles. So you might want to look into purchasing it. So for lessons, you simply find your lesson. This is where they are stored. You can organize them. Like I said, I've never needed to organize because I only have 4 articles. I can see them all on the front page. The next slide that you'll see is grades. This is where you're able to actually start doing the grading if you wanted to. You're able to filter by class. You're able to filter by lesson, because you might teach the same lesson over several classes. You can also filter by question. Maybe most of them are just formative. You're not really going to check them. You just wanted the students to do them. But there's one question you're going to look at to really dictate where you're going to go in your future lessons. So you can actually filter by question. And then the nice feature is you can filter by student. So I know oftentimes I have to go to IEPs, 504 meetings, or just student council meetings where they're really trying to help a student to succeed. And so I can pull up just those students' responses. So I can show parents that, yes, this is formative. I'm not really giving it a solid grade. I'm helping the student learn this skill, but you can see a pattern here. And so I'm really able to just pull up that student's responses to everything that we've done, all the articles that we've done. So I usually wait till we have the 4 articles. I'll pull up and save all my student responses. I'll do screenshots, and then I erase the articles and move on. The next section is classes. One nice thing is this incorporates very nicely with Google Classroom. So if you are making classes, you simply click on the new class button. And then down below, you will actually be able to start a class. So if you have littles, they don't have maybe the email account, or you're not using Google Classroom for safety protections, although many of the schools are changing that, then you can always make a class and you just give them a code like I did with you guys. But if you are using Google Classroom, you can very, very easily just click. It will go into your Google Classrooms. It creates the class. It pulls the students. And then right there, you're able to feed things right through Google Classroom. So it is a very nice thing. If you're using a different LMS, I know some schools are using Schoology, some use Canvas, depending. This is where you can make a class and just give the students the code, give them a link like I gave to you. It works the same. But if you are using Google Classroom, and since this is Google Camp, it is a nice, to me, feature, and it makes things much easier. If I can just give, I have high school students, and if I can just give them a link, chances are they'll click a link and they'll actually do the work. The next one is there's actually a library. It is not robust, because I think most teachers are like me. We are very cheap. We're going to use the free version. So the library does not have a lot there, but there might be things that are really useful for you. High school is very limited. I know there's a lot more for elementary and the middle grades. So depending on what you teach, you might have more. There's a lot more in regards to science than English. As an English teacher, I think a lot of us get stuck in kind of the canon or literature, but for non-fiction works, informational text, there is a lot involved here. And then the final part of the dashboard is there's what's known as basically search. And you can actually find content. So I typed in the first text I'm going to be teaching to my seniors, which is Their Eyes Are Watching God. And it basically does what we would consider a Google search, but of just educational sites. So it really limits it down. And you're able to find articles that are dealing with, in this case, Zora Neale Hurston. I'm able to pull, like you can see, in NPR articles. There's NPR articles about the book itself. There's different sites that I can use. And so I can start building from that, and it just saves me time. Once you get this far, you're probably wondering, but how do I build it? I know we're going fast. I just wanted you to see a review of what's there, but actually building it, what you do is the first thing I always recommend is download the Google Chrome extension. If you have it, it'll look like this. It says Insert Learning. you're able to have it available if you go to any website. So I was going to show you guys that if I switch over and decide to go to this New York Times website, I love this site. It's what's going on in this picture. This one's from April, but you're able to have a picture and it's stripped of all captioning, it's stripped of the title, it's stripped of the context, and it's students' job to figure out what is going on. So as a teacher, if I'm going to assign this to my students using Insert Learning, I am going to go first and make sure I open Insert Learning. As you see, you instantly get this purple box to the side. With this, I am able to assign it directly from here to my students. I'm able to do my highlighting. I am able to insert a sticky note. This is where I do those rhetorical questions for annotation, or maybe instructions, like a heads up. This is where I insert a question, insert my discussion, and then the 3 dots or the more button actually gives me all of these options. I can make a lesson and then share it with my colleagues. So I work in cohorts with other teachers because we teach the same subject, and we, especially with digital learning, we figured let's divide up the workload. So I can make an article and then share it with my colleagues. I can also edit lesson information. I can view it as a student. So that way, when I was face-to-face with my students, or if I'm on a synchronous meeting on Zoom or Google Meet, I can actually view it and show it to them as it looks to them, instead of looking from the teacher lens. I can print out a lesson that will have my embeds in it, my inserts. And that way, if I have a student that has trouble with connecting digitally, I can give them an actual paper copy. I also can go to my dashboard directly from here. So all I need to do when I'm doing this is I can click on the picture itself. So say I decide I want to insert a question. If I decide to insert my question right underneath the picture, this is where I could put in, you'll notice that Insert Learning helps me. It gives me question prompts. Most of them probably don't work for all the things I'm going to do, so I'll just type in here and actually create a question. If I want to, I can change the points, and then all I simply do is create. So here I might say, what do you think has caught the interest of these nurses? I will make sure I use my spell check so my students don't catch me in my bad typing. Or I might say, well, I want to make sure that we're not thinking so of these doctors, right? Because it's really not clear what they are. It might be of these factory workers. It just depends on my connotation of what I want to write. I can change, as I said, my points, and then I quickly can just click create. And my question now is here. If I want to, I have a question created. If I want to actually help my students, maybe I need to give them a frame, I am able to click here and I can actually turn it into a multiple choice question. So I can say A, they saw something spectacular. B, they did this. I'm able to actually go through and click in what they want. And I can also from here view the responses. This part here, I may not want my students to see. This is directions from New York Times. I might just want to use the article. And so I might tell them that this is all you need to do. Stop here. We're not doing anymore. By including, say, a sticky note, I can actually put it directly underneath. If I highlight, I can insert my sticky note and then put it directly underneath. So that way you're able to really change the article to how you want to do it. So like I said, on here, you'll see I have everything. So I know I went through quickly. You're able to see what each of the symbols are. When you click on them, they tell you also, but this way you're just able to review and see it. Now for some tips and tricks that I found. As you saw with that Google, with that,
yeah, oh yeah, you know, you're in front of the 160.
With that Google, with the New York Times article, sorry, you saw there was a lot of other things there. I personally use 2 apps together or two Chrome extensions together. I use the Print Friendly and PDF. It's another extension. And what it does is I'm able to use this extension and clear away everything from a website that I don't want. It then turns it into a PDF that I save to my Google Drive. Because it's in my Google Drive, it has a website. I'm able to use Insert Learning on top of that, and then I can assign that. So I can take any article I want from the internet, remove the ads, remove everything that to me is cluttering it, distracting my students, and then provide my students with a clean copy of maybe just what I want. Sometimes I do this and I'll remove parts of an article, and I want to see if students notice when we are talking about like factual information, do you notice that this article has been condensed? And we talk about, what do you think I removed as a teacher? What do you think websites remove? And so we'll talk about how people censor things, edit things. And so this extension really helps with that. And then I'm able to add it to Insert Learning. A second tip is, as I was talking about, you're only given those 5 free lessons. That's the one I use. I just delete as I go, get new lessons all the time. Other teachers I know upload to the public library, and that way your lesson is saved. And then when you want to reuse it, maybe next year or the year after, you can download it and use that because it's already been built for you. So that's another way around that. So you're able to kind of save your lessons and have them. And then you'll notice also on the website, there was a get free. You give people links, and then every time they create an account, you're given free months. And so that's another way if you want to share it. It's the pyramid scheme of most things. So that way you are able to get free months. They're given a free month, you get to have free months. That's what I use for the link. That way you guys instantly get a free month. Going into this, you can build, you can see what you like, you can play around and not have to delete, because you might want to use it going into August, whenever you start school. For tip number 3, if you want to have a Google Class discussion, I use these all the time. I love my students having threaded discussions. Unfortunately, many times with those threaded discussions, students have to click a lot. The more clicking I have, I lose my students, and they're high school students. So I know if you have littles, you might lose them quicker. And so it's one of those that I really want to make sure students are stuck in one thing. So I use the Insert Learning discussion tool instead of the Google Question tool, because Google Question is going to stay in Google Classroom. They have to go from the article to the question to the article. A lot of my students, they're not going to do that. I will lose them going in between the two things. And so I will insert the discussion right into the article to make sure they fully get it. And then I just post it to Google Classroom. Everything is in one place. It saves on the clicking, the getting lost, things like that. And then finally, tip number 4, if students are struggling with seeing the material, some of you might have been struggling, my 2 suggestions is make sure the students have the Chrome extension or that they've gone through Google Classroom. That way you make sure they have Insert Learning. The first times I used it, we were face-to-face and kids are like, I can't see your questions. Well, what did you do? I just looked at the internet online. No, I'm glad that you know how to find articles that I've given you, but you need to make sure that you go through Google Classroom. Please make sure you use the Chrome extension. So make sure they have those. I know it's going to be much harder with us on distance learning, but it's things that if you give it to them through Google Classroom, as soon as they click on it, they use their Google to enter, it'll be much easier. And then I always ask the students, please refresh your page, because oftentimes it's the internet. Things don't always come through like we want. So just refresh your page. And then a lot of times the questions will pop up. I did a training earlier this year in April with Insert Learning, and all the questions came for students except for 1. And it was strange because it worked for everybody but 2 students. They refreshed, and it eventually, after the second refresh, it popped up. So as we know, technology, just have some patience. And like I said, I use this for formative. So if they don't get every question, then I know that's just a question I need to ask another time. But it really does help. And then finally, I want to make sure that you have plenty of resources to use Insert Learning with. And so I've given you some links to Google Arts and Culture. This is a fantastic site of Google that takes you to museums. It goes through historical paintings. It does amazing things. Using insert learning with this makes it like you're a guided tour for them. The what's going on in this picture is fantastic. Wonderopolis is mostly for little middle grades, but it works good for high school too. It's truly just like questions, and then students can inquire and go deeper in their knowledge. And then with TED Ed, we watch a lot of TED Talks in my class. I give the students the transcripts with insert learning afterwards, so as a review of what we watched, because a lot of times we'll watch something, we watch a lot, you forget, so I'll give them the transcript with the insert learning so that we can have a deeper discussion on what we watched. So this is insert learning. I know that was a lot, that's why I hope the slides help, and remember, reach out to me, please. The next one is very similar, that's why these two work so nicely paired together, is Edpuzzle. I don't know how many of you are familiar, but Edpuzzle basically is the same, but it's for videos. And so you're able to, it's a website and a Chrome extension also, and it allows you to insert instructional content to any video. It can be a video that you find online, or it can be a video that you yourself have created. So we're gonna try it out again. This one here, it is a video, and we're running kind of, we got about 20 minutes left. So I wanna make sure we go through and have time if we have questions on things. But with this, if you click on it, you will notice that you actually have a video that I found online about distance learning. I will show you what it looks like. So as a teacher, I might decide to have you guys, I guess I should give you the link. It'll make it easier for all of us. So here, if I drop it into the chat, if I drop it into the chat, you should have access to Edpuzzle. And with this access, you will also have this code if you need to use it. And you will notice that when you click on it, you will have this page. And you are able to start it live. So if I am in a synchronous meeting like this, I can actually have an Edpuzzle. I might have my sound play, and I will have the students watch it. As I can see, there are 12 of you that have joined. 3 of you are now logged into this. I'm able to click start, and when it starts, it'll actually play the video. It pauses, which gives you a chance to answer questions. And so when you're doing this, you will notice that you can actually start. You'll see that this video is about distance learning. It's teachings and strategies and tips. There are 4 questions that I have embedded. You're able to go full screen, so you can actually show this to students, and then they can answer as you are going. And so if I just pressed play, it'll go slow. You'll notice I put a note here, and in my notes, I simply told you guys that this is what it does, this is what it's about, here you are. And then there was no question for you really to do, so I can just continue. You can put on, as it says, closed captioning. So I can decide to put closed captioning, or I can add English. That way they are auto-generated. So it is provided for you, which is great for students that need to have this accessibility, or any student. When I was teaching my English language learners, I always would put on closed captioning, because as we know, our eyes get drawn to the words. And so then they really get to see how to pronounce things. It helps them in all aspects. I'm able to have the sound or not have the sound depending on what we're doing. And as I said, I can go full screen. So if I exit, sorry, you're able to see how this works. But let's go back and actually see what Edpuzzle looks like, not just as a student. So looking at this, you can see the dashboard itself. So when you sign in as a teacher, you go to edpuzzle.com, as this little guy will show you. When you go to edpuzzle.com, you're able to very quickly click Teacher, sign in with your Google account, and then you will notice you get this screen. This is like the dashboard. It gives you what's trending in literature, language arts across Edpuzzle. It'll also give you this sidebar here. And the sidebar is really nice. It has everything. As I said, my district has Edpuzzle. So it actually lets me see every single thing that teachers at my school are posting. So I'll see what my history teachers are posting. I'll see what my PE teachers are posting. I see what other English teachers are posting. It's fantastic, and it also freaks teachers out sometimes because they're like, I don't want teachers to see but it's a great way to share resources. I can see what they're doing. I can talk to my students about it depending on what I see on there. That's only a pro feature. That's why I put it in the red dotted lines. That way you're aware. If you don't have the pro version as a school, as a district, then you won't see that. All right, that is an extra feature. You will see the rest though. You'll see curriculum, you'll see content, and then you'll notice that Edpuzzle themselves has added popular channels. So there is an Edpuzzle channel itself. There also is YouTube videos on a range of topics, typically educational based. Khan Academy has their videos. National Geographic has several videos. There's TED Talks. There's a science website here. There is a math website. And there's also Crash Course, which is by, as the keynote speaker talked about, the Vlogbrothers, the Greens. And it talks about several topics. They go really, really fast. They actually talk faster than I do, but it helps. And students are able to rewatch things several times. So this is your far left-hand bar of Edpuzzle. On the dashboard itself, you'll notice that was the content, was what I just showed you. Under the gradebook, you will see your classes. It's a drop-down menu. You choose which class you're looking at. And it will have all of the assignments that you have graded, that you grade right within Edpuzzle. And you're able to see not only what the students answered, their scores that you give feedback to, but you're also able to see how much of the video they watched. And so, for instance, in my class, I do a lot of screencasts. So I give instructions to my students. I run them through Edpuzzle, so I know if the students are actually watching my instructions. If you use Loom, it actually does that for you. Our district, we use Screencastify. It does not tell me if students are watching my videos. So if I run it through Edpuzzle, I know if the students are watching. So when they ask me, I can check real quick, like, why are you asking me? You haven't even looked at your directions yet. Please look at your directions first before you ask me separate questions. And so I can really help my students learn to be more creative thinkers for themselves instead of being that relied dependence on the teacher. When they go to college, I have high school students, they need to learn how to access information themselves. So if I'm providing the videos, I want them to watch the video. So I run it through Edpuzzle. You're able to see that the gradebook allows me to see that. Right now, I emptied out my classes. And so I don't really have that available to show you what the gradebook looks like, but it's very self-explanatory. It's very colorful. You have red bars, yellow bars, green bars, depending on their percentage of watching. So you can give feedback very quickly. The next part is your classes. So you'll notice that you have your classes available here for you. You'll also notice this is another nice feature as we're at Google Camp. It works very beautifully with Google Classroom. So I'm able to pull my classes in. Once I make my Google class, I have my students enrolled in my Google class. I instantly can pull them into Edpuzzle so they don't have to do anything. I have them, I'm able to assign to them. It makes it very nice. And the best part is if I am on one of the different LMSs, I can use this box down here at the bottom and I can see how to include it in Canvas, how to include it in Schoology, and all these other LMSs if it's not Google Classroom that you're using. You'll also notice there's what's known as the due assignments, the no due date, and the students. And so with this, you're really able to see with the due assignments, those are assignments that I've given a due date for. This might be background information. I need students to have this watched before we start the unit or before we start the lesson. So I'm going to give a due date. I, as a teacher, can always change it. But I'm going to give that due date to make sure students know that there's a pressing need for you to watch it within this window. No due date means I just want you to have this knowledge. I want you to learn. I want you to understand this. And so I'm able to provide an assignment without a due date. And then I, once again, just like insert learning, I am able to look at just certain students. And so I can actually click on this. I can pull up a student. So again, if I have a student success meeting, if I have a 504, if I have an IEP, I can just pull up that student and say, I provide this information, but the student's not taking advantage by not watching. Is there a reason? Maybe internet connectivity is a problem. In our district, we have a problem with the hotspots we give have data caps. And so students, depending on what teachers are assigning, they might not be able to watch the video. Then we can talk about that. What are ways we can work around it, things like that. Maybe I can assign a longer window for those students. So it's really a nice way that I can really see, focus down on what are students struggling with. I have some students, they hate to read, but watching videos is their thing. So I always put on the closed captioning. I will find videos. Sometimes I find just audiobooks on YouTube. It is the novel we're covering. It's a YouTube video, but I know if they're reading it because I run it through Edpuzzle. I'm able to see what they're doing. I don't even ask questions. I just send it through Edpuzzle so I can see what is their progress? How far are they in this assignment? Things like that. And so it's really one of those that I'm able to see my students to the full extent. Now, I want to show you, how do I do this? So I'm going to find a video. This is a video that a student actually suggested to me a few years ago because we were having issues of school not mattering to certain students on our campus. And so it's an interesting, I highly recommend it, rap video. It's What is School For? And it goes through kind of the stereotype of school not being relevant to modern life. And so my student actually created a whole presentation, but he wanted me to give it to teachers. So I created an Edpuzzle. And that way he would see that teachers are watching it. How did they answer? What did they reflect on? So it became kind of a community of learners. So I put this one here as that example. So as I said, students can create theirs also. I don't know if I mentioned that, but students can make Edpuzzles also. And so you might have them find some material and share their thinking. What do they think of this? How does it relate to our lesson? They can make an Edpuzzle, make you watch it, and they see the results also. So there is a preview button. You can see what's there. You have choices. You can assign, you can edit, you can duplicate. So maybe you have different levels. As I said, I teach English 2, which is my 10th graders, which is a college prep class with lots of English learners. I also have honors that has lots of English learners, but it's an honors class. So I have to have different questioning. We're looking at different resources. And so I might use the same video. So I will duplicate it and then add questions in or add different material. And so I can make it for different grades, different levels, depending on what I'm teaching. I could also use this to differentiate. So if I do have students in the same class, but they're at different levels cognitively, I can actually change my questions, change how I formulate it. Maybe I'll use a lot of multiple choice with one student because that's what they need, but I could use open-ended questions with another student. And then also you see all the questions I have for this video, or in this case, what the student has for this video. You'll notice that when I go to edit, I have 3 at the top here. So from this screen here, I decide, okay, I'm going to actually edit. So I would click this edit button down here. It's the second one under your choices. When I click edit, I will see this screen. It has to cut. So I can actually cut my video. So we all know there's videos that are really long. I only want those 10 minutes. So I will use that really long video, but I will only have students watch those 10 minutes. So I can cut from the beginning. I can cut from the end. This year, once we started on distance learning, Edpuzzle changed their algorithm. I can actually cut from the middle also. So maybe I like the intro and I like the conclusion. The middle just goes on and on and on, as we know. Some, especially it seems, some historical references have that. There's a lot of fluff in the middle. I can cut that part out and just use the intro and the conclusion. So it's great for editing purposes. I just drag it, drop it. It's very simple, and they give you lots of explanation. I can also decide to do voiceovers. So maybe I find a video that is in English, but I teach Spanish, or I teach French, or I teach Chinese, and I want to have students have that language. So I can actually record myself talking over the video. sometimes I use this and we're just looking at how do commercials create. I don't want the commercial. I'm not trying to sell something, but I want the visuals. So I can just take out the sound of the commercial, do a voiceover, and have students look at, okay, what do you notice about the coloring in this? Our teacher at our campus will do that. They'll take part of a video, and how do you notice the director uses art? Or how do you notice the director uses color theory? How do you know? So that way you're able to basically take material, take the sound out of that material, and just have voiceover there itself. As I said, great for translation, but other purposes also. And then finally, you're able to actually add questions. There's 3 question types available to you, technically 2 question types, but you can make it into 3. So you have multiple choice, which is the first one. So you simply find your place in the video, click multiple choice. When you click multiple choice, it's great because it then gives you a series of the place for the question and your answers. With your answers, you're actually able to have multiple answers. So as we know, hopefully, standardized testing does not come back to its full state, but if it does, we are, for high school, for the 11th graders, they get questions that have multiple answers. I'm able to replicate that, give them that practice that it's not always just one correct answer. There might be several correct answers, so you're able to do that. And then finally, you can do open-ended so that you actually have a question, and with that question, you're able to have students respond. Now, the multiple choice are auto-graded. When you're creating the question, you click if it's yes, if it's correct, if it's wrong, and Edpuzzle grades them for you. You don't have to do anything. Open-ended obviously require you to grade. So you're going to have to grade your open-ended questions. So I would recommend not going too heavy on that if you have a huge body of students. And then also you have what's known as the note feature, which you can do verbal or written. And you actually can just give kind of that space for reflection again. Pause it, give a question, let students think about it, and then progress. They don't need to answer. You're just teaching them how to really read reflectively, how to use that critical thinking skill. And so it helps in that way. You also, as I demonstrated at the beginning, can go live. So again, in your choices, you're able to share your screen, go live, and then you can all do it together. But you can also, as it says, share assignment. You can assign it directly through Google Classroom. You can get a link if you like to have your Google Classroom on, say, like a weekly playlist. You can just give links and let students decide what they want to watch, which one they want to watch, by just getting a link for each video that you have. If you want to use the grading, you'll notice that you have your do assignments. You can click different ones. Once you click on it, it'll show you this red box here that says new answers, other answers. You can click on that and it'll actually have you grade. So what you look at when it's grading, you'll notice here, you can see how much a student has watched and then what their grade is. You're able to click here and choose 4 answers to grade. So that tells you you have 4 answers. It's probably one student did their work and it was 4 questions in the video. So you know you have 4 answers to grade. You simply click on this. And when you're there, you have your question and then you have the student's response. With this, as you notice over here on the side, you are able to preview the video portion that that question is. So say you make a lot of questions, you don't remember what the video is. You made it, in August, you're showing this in November. You are able to preview the video. You are able to, when you're grading, choose completely wrong, which is the X. You are able to choose a percentage, maybe it's partially correct, or you can choose the check, which is 100% correct. My only suggestion is if you are going to give written feedback, which I enjoy doing, I want my students to know that I've read their stuff, I give them feedback, make sure you do the comment first and then do the percentage. If you do the percentage, it goes away to the bottom of the stack and then you got to look back through all of them and do the comment. So always remember, do the comment first and then give the grade. Or maybe you just want to give comments. You're not giving grades. You can do that also. Just give the comment and then you're good. There also is a mass. So say this is just feedback. You really don't care what the answers were. You just wanted students to think, practice their responses. You can click mark ungraded as correct and it'll just do mass correction. It makes everything correct, but maybe you're not looking for the score. You're simply wanting students to watch this, answer it, think about it so you can do batch grading in that sense also. So here are some tips and tricks. I know we went through super fast. Remember, please email me, tweet me if you have questions. My first tip is you want to download the Chrome extension. I have it linked here. If you just click the Edpuzzle, it will give you on your YouTube, if you signed in with your account, this cool button that says Edit with Edpuzzle. So if you click on that, if you find a video on Edpuzzle you really like, you get this little button, you click it, it automatically imports it to Edpuzzle. So you don't have to look through Edpuzzle and say, they don't have the video I want, but I know this event. I have a PE teacher, she's teaching her students basketball. Since we're on distance learning, she's gonna show them NBA games. And Edpuzzle doesn't have NBA games. That's not really viewed as educational. So she just goes online, finds an NBA game that she wants to show. She was showing Jordan, she was showing Kobe. She clicks Edit with Edpuzzle. She shortens it to just the sequence she wants of the game, not the entire 3-hour game. And right away, it's in Edpuzzle. She doesn't have to worry about it not living in Edpuzzle. She's created it. She clicks Edit with Edpuzzle. It's automatically there for her. You can also do what's known as app smashing, the idea of putting a bunch of things together. So I gave you several examples here from different topics. And the last one is if you do use Screencastify, you're able to actually upload directly to Edpuzzle. This is a new feature they released earlier this year. So I gave you the directions on how to do it. If you are using Screencastify, you're able to simply upload straight to Edpuzzle. You can see what your students are actually watching to make sure they're getting your instructions fully. On Edpuzzle itself, I wanted to make sure you saw how you can make sure that you fit your class for accessibility. So if it's linked to Google Classroom, you can specify certain students. So maybe you need some students to rewatch a video about how to write a paragraph, but not everyone needs to watch it, just some. And so you could just give it to certain students. So if you have Google Classroom, you can choose your students. It doesn't have to be the whole class. You also can do your due dates. So maybe a student needs to watch it again. So you only give them a certain window to watch it in. Maybe they're prepping for a test retake. You can give them, watch this again, and then you can retake your test. You can prevent skipping so that students don't skip through the video and randomly answer questions. They have to watch every frame of the video. You also can force closed captioning on. Some students don't know to turn on closed captioning and they need it. So you can force it on, and you can directly assign, if it is linked to Google Classroom, directly assign it to Google Classroom. Last tip is if you need more knowledge, you can always click these. Edpuzzle has online education for Google Classroom, for Edpuzzle themselves, all sorts of things. And so you're actually able, and the cool thing is they've started developing mini certifications for students. So if you want your students to learn more skills, you can do that also. These are the classes that I have taken. So you can take Edpuzzle like level 1, level 2. You can become an Edpuzzle coach. You can do Edpuzzle for Google Classroom, Edpuzzle for blended learning, Edpuzzle for Canvas. There's all sorts of things. So I know we went really, really fast. I went over a little bit. But if you have questions and you're not rushing on somewhere and we don't have to get out, then you can ask. If not, you can meet me on social media. And I think that is everything.